Hello and welcome to Frank's School. Well, this cat is named Thor, and I guess Thor has decided he's going to help me teach. All right, this is the fourth year. This could be a problem, actually. This is the fourth year, 172nd day, first video, and I'm going to call this Waterlove. I've reserved about, at first I thought 10 days, now I'm thinking more like 9 or 8 days where I want to deal with the subject of water. Uh, water. And I guess I'm going to call it water love. I'm making that word up. The Portugal trip is over. My telling you about it, my teaching some of what I learned, that's over now. Portugal 2015. I have begun the 5th year of Frank's School, which is largely going to be on what's going on in the very tangible world around here, the stuff I'm building to build Frank's School. But now I have not yet finished the 4th year. All right, water love. I have loved water. I love water, as I say, as like a lifelong friend. And I didn't even necessarily realize it. Probably a lot of people are like that. A lot of people are maybe like that. Maybe everybody loves water, and at least in the modern world, you just don't think about it that much. You turn the tap and there's water. It's water. Yeah, you just don't think about it that much. But I have, and not only a friend, but as a teacher, water has been a very profound and serious teacher for me, and has guided me. Now, to explain some things that this is not going to be, this water love, I actually don't much love salt water. Oceans, beaches, the surf, people love that. It's just okay for me. It's pretty, it's interesting, it's nice. I think I like that probably not as much as most people do. No doubt if I didn't have salt readily available, that's another thing in the modern world is salt. Well, of course, everyone's got salt. There have been times in the history of humanity or prehistory of humanity where salt was worth more than gold. So salt water, yeah, but that I haven't felt that. Even boats, they go with water. So important, and rafts and stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I probably like those things less than most people do. I'm also not going to talk about what I might call water need. The need for water. You need water so badly. And it's becoming much more obvious, it's much more clear to people, water need, and you love it because you need it and it's there. That's also not what I mean. I'm not going to talk about that. Now, by the way, I think it's a little ironic that when I found out that I was an Aquarian, of all the signs of the zodiac, what would be the odds that I would be an Aquarian? Is there something about that? The water bringer. I don't know. I'll just throw that in. But just 2-3 nights ago on TV, I was watching a show called Prophets of Doom. You might have seen it before, where people are beginning very seriously to talk about these vast problems that are confronting humanity, and they ended up speaking a lot about, come on, cat, about water. You could almost say that was what they focused on finally, was that's water need. It is needed so badly. But again, that's not really what I'm talking about. California, for example, is suddenly becoming clear out there, and so many parts of the world where water is so precious and so needed. That's not exactly what I mean. I'll come back to that. I'm also not going to be gushy. I don't know what other word to say it about. Oh, water is so wonderful, you love it. It's spiritual. There's water dark under the ground, cold, and it's pure that way, and it can be spoiled. And no, if I get gushy about anything, it'll be about the beauty of a waterfall in a forest or something, and I'll have something to say about that. That's not what I mean either. That has been said. This is all being said all the time. Um, uh, all right, BMS stands for Bedford Middle School. That's where I taught for 30 years. And, you know, now and then in the course of the 30 years, there'd be a power outage where the lights would fail. You know, uh-oh, you know, what do you do now? Well, it was a problem. You know, you'd had to use candles or just kind of wait patiently, or the teachers couldn't use their computers anymore and they actually had to simply teach. I mean, it was an inconvenience. But I remember very clearly one time that the water failed at Bedford Middle School. Some problem in the water lines in town. That was almost immediately a disaster. Almost immediately a disaster. Then it became so clear how critically important water was to civilization. You see, I'm saying water need. About the thing to do, really, it seemed like call the buses in, get those kids out of there, because they had to go to the bathroom. And you know, water, modern civilization depends on the supply of water. Now, it came back within an hour and a half, but you know, when you've got, I don't know what it was, 300 people in a building. Well, anyway, you don't need. Anyway, that's what I'm talking about. The water need. It is so important. Well, I had earlier in the very first year I taught, year one of the videos I put on as I was coming up through chronological order was I put forth my version of the theory that the hydraulic theory of the origin of civilization. That civilization developed because of a collective need to use water for irrigation, really. So I'll give you that link so you could go to see it. I think the guy's name Whitfogel. This might have been a V. I think he might be the man who was responsible for that. I'm not so sure. But it goes with what I'm talking about here. Now, down here, maybe I should even box these, because I say water has been my teacher. Well, it has taught humanity these four things. Water, if you would just imagine a tortoise shell that you find from a dead tortoise, and it were full of water, and you turn it, it doesn't matter, the water stays level. So the concept of level, you know, if water is contained, not allowed to go anywhere, it becomes level, and we're taught that. If the water then is allowed to leave level, it wants to go to plumb. If you put a hole in that tortoise shell at the bottom, the water is then going to fall, and there you've got plumb. The difference between level and plumb is square. And that is, when you look at a hillside, for example, where water is kept artificially level by a ditch and then you open a hatch, it's called, and let the water out, well, that water is going to go down a fall line. When it goes from a contour line to a fall line, it reveals square. So there are three things that cavemen, if you will, could learn. I mean, and did. The other thing, which and now straight. If you put these three things together with straight, you've basically got the components of building, of architecture. And straight, it's not quite as easy to explain how straight comes from the teaching of the water teaches straight. It can, but your eye teaches straight. And a tight string, a tight fiber teaches straight. So you get these four things, and that basically is the components of so much of architecture. You don't have to build something that's level, plumb, square, or straight. Birds' nests are usually not, well, they probably are level. But anyway, but the other thing that I sort of recently realized was, well, the other real critical thing that water has taught is cleanliness, clean. You can make something with water clean. And there we go back to this civilization. back to this civilization. Without water, imagine those 300 people in Bedford Middle School without water, and how very quickly the spot would get unspeakably filthy. You know, I wrote in raccoon here because I was thinking, well, you know, humans aren't the only ones that know about water making something clean. I remember being fascinated with the idea that a raccoon will wash his food. The German word, this may be, there may be an E here. The German word for raccoon is Waschbär or Wäschbär, a wash bear. You know, it's a animal that washes his food. I also can't help thinking of my dad, who worked in the dry cleaning industry, and he would teach me about solvents, petroleum solvents, and perchloroethylene, I think it was. But I remember him saying, but the best solvent that there is by far is water, is a solvent. So anyway, I throw that in. So anyway, clean. Here are four things that water has taught humanity. All right, now how do I go on with this? I have been worried. Aller Anfang ist schwer. All beginnings are hard, are difficult, and every beginning is difficult. I have now begun it. So how do I go forth explaining to you about this water love? I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of go into my past. Well, I'll sort that out. In any case, I have it begun. Bye for now.